This week on the Old School RuneScape Update, Poll 83 brings discussion on Castle Wars, the new player experience, and other fixes. We also look at the first stats of Raging Echoes, what's this year's meta, and did theorycrafting rune leagues for everyone? This is the Old School RuneScape Update, episode 57, recorded Saturday, December 7th, 2024. Raging Decisions. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Old School RuneScape Update. Sirion and myself are in as we are each and every week. You've been having a fun leagues week, I see, or I wager at least.
Yeah, Why are jobs a thing? Why do I have to do jobs? Why can't I just play leagues for a living? Can you all just throw lots of money at us so we can do this full time and I can just get paid to do leagues?
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah.
But also, I want to just say that, this week we thought, well, there's some interesting stuff happening with leagues, and we got some numbers, and the game mode is progressing quite well, and things are starting to emerge as patterns. So let's have somebody on to discuss this with us. And this week, joining us on the show is Francine from Clan Quest, who you might remember from way back in the day when we were first starting Old School RuneScape Update. But she's back. She's here to talk about some of the league stats with us. She has an untrimmed farming cape in the game and has been progressing through her own league's game mode quite well. So welcome to the show, Francine.
Hi, it's good to be here. I am currently playing leagues while we're recording this, and I do have all my areas and all my relics at 25,000 points. So I am just playing the game right now. So
that's the point we all want to get to, isn't it? Just playing the game and enjoying it.
It's day 11, and I have everything I need. So I'm just trying to get these teak logs.
Right.
Are you not going for any trophies? Specific trophies?
Of course, we're all going for that dragon trophy at 60,000 points. So I'm just trying to get there. Slow and steady wins the race,
Yeah, fair enough. And, you have till January 22nd, so lots of time on that. And, in addition to the league stuff this week, there was Poll 83 about Castle Wars, new player changes, and a few other things. We're going to get to that in just a second. But in the meantime, if you do want to follow along, we have full show notes available over at update.show/OS. And there you can also, of course, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast listening service, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast, YouTube. They're all there. Just tap your favorite one. We also have a Discord over at update.show/Discord and a friends chat in-game as well at BitsBytes. So Poll 83, this one is interesting, isn't it? Because it's polling Castle Wars themed world changes. And I'm not a Castle Wars connoisseur, but some of these changes are interesting. What was your first take on these, Sirion?
I mean, when I said Castle Wars are great, I love when they look at old content, give it a little bit of TLC, give it a little bit of love, and make it relevant again. Especially during leagues. I mean, Castle Wars maybe not so much. It's in Kandarin, but things like Soul Wars and Pest Control and some of those things, they show that they still age pretty well and they still have a place in the game. It's just unfortunate that Castle Wars, doesn't. And I'm not sure if what they're doing here is a trend I like, right? So what they're doing here is they're making specific Castle Wars themed world changes, and to me that it's starting to emerge as a pattern that we now have Brimhaven Agility Arena worlds that have special behavior. We have Castle Wars themed worlds, they was special behavior. We already had PvP worlds that have special behavior, but we used to be at a point where you could, all of the exceptions sort of made sense, and now all of a sudden it's starting to get a little bit more complicated, and all of a sudden it matters on what world you are, and I'm not sure It's ironic because this entire like half of this post is about let's make the game easier to understand for new players, and then they're pulling pulling shit like this.
Yeah, I can see the fragmentation emerging there. Francine, what do you think?
I'm not really a Castle Wars player either, so I've not really read the blog regarding these changes yet, so I don't really have a opinion yet. So,
Okay. Well, I think, we can kind of just, throw this out there and, do a hot or cold on it. Like the one that stands out to me most is Q3. Should games played on themed Castle Wars World provide an additional Castle Wars ticket for both wins and losses? Like, what do you think of that? It's like a huge departure from the way the games worked, and how do you communicate that?
It's not. I mean, the agility arena works like that,
Yeah.
right? If you are on that world and you are the first to hit, like to tag a post, you get an extra ticket, right? So it's, and because of all the themed world changes they want to make, I guess they want to actually consolidate the people on those worlds. So adding extra tickets sort of makes it that people will actually go and play on the worlds that have specific rule sets to, make make Castle Wars more fun. I'm just like,
yeah.
if they really want people to play that, play Castle Wars that way. If this is the way, then why are we not just polling it for all worlds?
That's the big question, isn't it?
I think if we consolidate more people on the Castle War worlds, like making like, hey, if you get on this world, you get more tickets, then that will make, I don't know, better plays or better ways to get the collection log slots. Because right now, a loss gives you one ticket and a win gives you three, I think. So this will give you one extra ticket every game, and every game is like 10 minutes or something.
I mean, the argument they give here is basically, they don't want people. I mean, they're fine with people AFKing, but like right now, AFKing gives the same rate of Castle Wars tickets than actually playing it. So, and since it's more likely that the games on the Castle Wars themed worlds will actually have people on them and playing the game, you can't AFK there. So this is sort of, I guess, to encourage the active participation. I don't know. Like, this is one of those things where I feel a little bit that in a solution where technology was not a restriction, we could just, when you approach Castle Wars, you just get transported to an instance world that is specifically dedicated, right? Like every region right now has like a dedicated Castle Wars world. Let's just make that a special sort of like super world where everybody in that region, when they get close to Castle Wars, sort of ideally seamlessly gets transported into the same world. Or like the moment you step into a lobby, you hop to that world at the same time. That to me sounds like the technological ideal solution. I just can see technical hurdles that sort of makes us having to do with themed worlds. But to me, I'm not against any of these changes per se. I'm just against the idea that themed worlds become so like it's more than just a themed world at this point.
Yeah, it's becoming a feature of the game, and in effect, like you said, changing it to a point where you wonder that maybe an instance sharding mechanic might be the way to go, because they're also looking at other non-themed world changes too, from things like barricades in front of the respawn barriers as to how it was prior to 2008, and similar to similar changes for terrain and whatnot. So there is stuff in there for the OG vanilla Castle Wars as well, but there's also the option, maybe, hey, finally after all these years, maybe players should be allowed to wear their helmets. Maybe maybe the bandages should be updated to heal more, and so on and so forth down the list. And I think when you pair these changes in with the with the Castle Wars world changes, I think they're all gonna pass for better or worse, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I agree with you, Sirion. They're not, necessarily bad per se. It's just, the kind of fragmentation that you get from it at the end of it in terms of the different behaviors and whatnot. But as we said, we already have those in game.
Well, where does it end, right? Like, if behaviors can be different, like, do all of the servers become like almost private servers with like different activities, and like forestry works different and mining works different? Like, one world is competitive mining and the other isn't. Like, where does it stop?
Yeah, exactly. And my concern is, how do you showcase this to a new player? And it's interesting that they're also throwing new player QOL and some UX stuff in this poll here too. And the first new thing they talk about with new players, what should be on Slayer task lists for Masjina, Vanaka, and Kaeldar. And of course, one of those things that could be on there is the time trusted and or true. Time and true. Well, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's tried and true. That's it. Tried and true crabs as Slayer tasks as an option.
I like this. There's a lot of good places. Like, I mean, Ammonite crabs are still pretty crowded, but
Yeah.
there's so many places for sand crabs now, and you now also have frost crabs on Valimor. I think, I like it.
Yeah, and I mean it is what you do until 60 or 70 even. So for the
I do like that change. I personally never used crabs as a training method, but I know about it. So that would incentivize new players, like, hey, here's a good training method, go do it. And they're like, wow, this is really good. So it will be a good change.
Yeah, that's fair. They're also looking at prayer drain rate indicators, and with this, they would be adding drain rate information tooltips to the prayer interface. I think this is good because, these have been largely derived for a long time. You have to go to somewhere like the wiki to see those. And, similarly, skill interface summaries that explain what woodcutting and fishing do. And, obviously we know what that is, but for somebody arriving new to the game, the difference between attack and strength is something that has confused people many a time before. So that's also being talked about.
Reading this blog post makes me think of this YouTuber, Alien Food, who is currently on a RuneScape unguided mission where he does not use the wiki or any guides at all. He only used the game. So if these were introduced into the game, then he is not using the wiki specifically, but now they're in their game. So I think this will definitely help him in his ways in RuneScape. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah, and before the wiki, it was I'm sure we all remember that era. Before the wiki, it was kind of a hallmark that if you knew where the best place to mine Addy was, then you were a commodity, and these sorts of things were seen as that. But now we're in a different era, and let's just get all the information out there for everybody.
I mean, you see that, like, with leagues, especially with the tasks, the wiki is de facto, like, canonical.
Yeah.
It's a canonical part of the game, and I think they deserve it. They do a lot of really great stuff. They build a lot of really good tools, and yeah, but it's just not as easy to get access to it from like a mobile phone, and it is, for some players, a little bit sketchy to like go to an external website and do all of this. So I see this as a step in the right direction. I think they can lean on the wiki, but putting some of these very core pieces of information like that's great. And even if you look at some of the wiki stuff, right, like things like drop rates, it's all crowdsourced right now. So getting information like prayer drain rates and like information about skill interfaces and just getting all of the information to be like verified by jagex means that that actually benefits the wiki as well, because that always has up-to-date information at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know, but like sometime when Varlamore came out, they updated the map where you can actually look at mining spots and the rocks have different colors. So you can see like if there are mithril rocks there, if the rocks are blue or whatever. That and like the trees, all different types of trees have different logos on the map. So you can see where the teak trees are, or the mahoganies, or the oaks, based on the little logo on the map. Same thing with flax and little just logos on the map have all been changed ever since like Varlamore Part 2 came out, I think. So that was a huge update. I was looking at the map and I was like, wait, you can actually see the rocks different colors, like the gold ore are all yellow, and it looks really, really good.
Yeah, and that's just the standard evolution of the game, and it's good that those sorts of things happen, and you expect that because it's a natural thing, and that you say gold, well, that's going to be yellow, and then mithril blue, and so on and so forth. They're also looking at changing a bunch of other little miscellaneous things, like for forestry, for example. Upping the frequency of event spawns by 20% is a question, and as is increasing the eligibility radius by 50%.
Yes,
as
please.
well.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I feel like we're all chasing RNG on that for leagues right now.
Also, I think we skipped over it, but like the fairy ring map icons, it's one of my favorite Runelight features. Where like if I need to go somewhere and I know there's a fairy ring there, I could just hover and see the code. Putting that into the main client, absolutely love it. So
yeah.
Oh my goodness, that will help unguided YouTube player so much, because he's like currently just unlocked the fairy rings and he has to figure out what code this fairy ring is. If that is in the game, that will help him so much.
Yeah, and it's also just increasing that feature parity between the official clients and Runelight too, which is important as we head towards that date where Jagex's official API and whatnot starts to get closer and closer. We also got some little changes for the rune pouch when it comes to the UI. Talking about the Slayer Cape procs at Konar. And I think one of the biggest ones, looking at the possibility of adding seed packs as a purchasable reward from the Tithe Farm.
I like this.
I do agree with. Yes.
I was doing Tithe Farm for leagues earlier, and I was like, what do I do with my surplus points? Like herb packs? Come on. Why is it giving me herb packs? That's just...
No. When you do Tithe Farm and you have everything, you have the seed box, you have the outfit, you have just the whole collection log already done. You're supposed to then get grape seeds and Zammy blessings, and just from there make a lot of Zammy grapes.
Yeah, but the cheap AF. You can't get...
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to get 50 mil herb lore experience based on Zammy grapes. As long as you have the dwarf weeds, you're good. You're set. But now you can get the high level seeds from Tithe Farm if this comes out. And that is so much better than doing farming contracts.
Yeah.
This is making me wish I had a combination of Corrin and Varlamore in leagues, but more on that after. Also, and these are the last few here, should the enchant jewelry spells always pull from the first
Why
available?
Why are you skipping over the hunter changes? Come on!
Oh, I missed
Go
that.
in order.
Okay, hunter, right. Why? I don't know why I missed that. Tell me about the hunter changes then, Sirion, because you seem very animated about these.
Yes, I've been doing hunter rumors on League.
Oh,
so...
okay, that explains it.
The box traps are sort of nice. It's slower to do it this way, but you can basically, when you click them, they automatically get reset. So it saves you a click, and they want to do the same with net traps, which is nice. Because right now you have to rebuild them manually, so it saves you another click. Same with birdhouses. Just make me rebuild them automatically. Absolutely love it. So,
It's all about saving
no,
those few clicks here and there, which helps.
yeah, exactly. And a duplicate hunter room is unique. I mean, with my RNG, that's never going to become relevant. I do agree with this change as well.
Now the thing is with my main account, I did get the hunter sack that you can put a lot of hunter stuff in it twice before they made it like you can only get it once. So I currently have two of them, and I can't use the second one for anything. So if I am able to trade that in, that'd be good.
Yeah, good. And Hunter Rumors, RNG and whatnot. I know you're going to be there for a while, Sirion, based on that. And I mean, overall, I feel like 21 is something that people will probably just go for straight away. Jewelry, pull from the first available slot in your inventory. I'm going in order now. Changes to the Explorer rings, alchemy, and the question around that.
This is lovely. Like that right screen menu is like, thank you.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that needs to happen. I agree. 23 is big, and then the chromium ingots smelting pathway, which the actual question is, should we add a smelting pathway for the creation of chromium ingots? What exactly are these? I've never dealt with them in game before. Chromium ingots.
Crickets.
Chromium ingots are used to create some of the best rings. I think it's the Desert Treasure 2 rings.
Oh, okay, that explains why.
You get the ingots from the Desert Treasure 2 bosses, which they also drop the items needed to upgrade the decay rings. In order to, you need like 3 ignites and the other thing, can't remember what it's called, the visage or something. And then you're able to make a better archer's ring and a better berserker ring.
Okay.
Yeah, you need one of the icons. You need the
icon. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And the last one is prayer penetration for the dragon sword, the ancient mace, and the Varax armor set. And they say this change is aimed at more future reward space than existing metas, because right now this doesn't often happen in PVM scenarios and hasn't been possible to implement due to technical restraints. But while they were working on While Gothic Sleeps, they took the opportunity to refactor some of our script to make prayer penetration feasible. That's interesting. Very interesting. It's not going to affect anything now, but
I'm up for this. Let's do it.
Okay.
I like reward space. We all know that we're a big fan of horizontal reward space.
Yeah.
So let's make more of it. Yeah.
So you like this change then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, I feel like this was the easy part of the show. This was the easy part of the show. You know why? Because when it comes to the league stats, it's a little bit lopsided, isn't it? I'm just going to run through the region numbers quickly. These come from a video that was posted on the official channel done by Soup. 25% Mauritania, 24 Fremennik, 15 Corand and Varlamore, 14 Asgarnia, 13 Tiranan, 12 Desert, 7 Wilderness, and 4% Kandarin.
Hey, look. At least Wilderness is like on this list.
Yeah, I mean, and I was wondering why Kandarin is so desolate, and here we are.
I
So I have a lot of thoughts on this. Shall we begin? Okay. So I think the biggest reason is the echo bosses. The main goal of the moderators this league was to shake things up and make the echo bosses change people's region choices, and that has definitely been successful in a way where wilderness has not been the least picked region this league, because wilderness drops probably the best melee weapon, but it also is the best defense shield, because it protects against all types of poison and uh dragon fire and
Right.
everything like that.
Yeah,
Um,
to be honest,
but
if they had gotten rid of PvP in the wilderness for leagues, that would have definitely been up on my short
oh
list.
yeah,
And I mean, I was considering, what would my, second run look like, and there is a world where, wilderness would factor into that,
Yeah,
even with the PvP.
I choose my regions because of fun, and I would not have fun continuously looking, like hovering over the logout button because there's a red name showing
Yeah,
up.
but you don't lose anything.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Right. Well, no. You lose as if it's a normal PVM death, so you need to go back and grab your stuff.
Eh,
So when it comes to choosing areas, my first advice is choose wherever you want to have fun. Choose where you think you're gonna have the most fun. Don't go by what everyone else is choosing. The second advice I would say is make a smart choice in a way that look at your skills. What skills are going to be able to train in that area? What skills are you not going to be able to train in that area? Because you don't want to be locked out of a skill. Because there are 3 areas you can choose and be locked out of an herb patch.
yep.
If you choose wilderness, Tawanwin, and desert, you don't have an herb patch. So that would be a wrong choice right there. And I hope you go with Friendly Forager as a relic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this explains also. I think a lot of people this time around are very vocal about what is the best choice and what is a good choice, right? And I think like maybe this is because leagues is now only 1 year apart. I think there's a lot more people now sort of they know what's going to happen, and there's all of this theory crafting happening. I think there are a lot of people that are based on what they know and based on sort of the theory saying like, everybody who picks Kandarin is absolutely stupid, and that I think
No.
is like one of those myths that permeates throughout the community, and nobody ends up picking Kandarin for that reason, even though I think it is actually a decent region. Is it a high
It
level?
No.
is where
Yeah,
most of my tasks done have been.
it's not a high level PVM region, right? And I understand that there
Yeah.
are a lot of people, and these tend to be the most vocal people because they're high level, they've been around the longest, they have the highest confidence, they seem to know what they're talking about. For them, it makes sense to not pick Kandarin and to pick a region with interesting PVM challenges. But if you're in there for the skilling, I think Kandarin is. I had so much fun in Kandarin last time, so I'm sad to see it this low. I do think they could have picked a better boss as an Echo boss, though. I
Yeah, that's
think,
fair, because, you have to get 93 Slayer before you even go there. So,
and also Fermi, like, it's really a boring boss.
So how I feel about Kandarin is I do agree that the Relics this league has made Kandarin a bad choice, because there's a lot of relics where it's like makes it obsolete. Where if you choose Grimoire, you already have all the prayers, so you get piety for free. And then a lot of drops you can get elsewhere. So this league, you don't need to get Kandrin and Tuanwin to get the Trident of the Swamp. You don't because the Trident in the Swamp just drops from Zulrah.
Yeah.
It drops as that. So it makes it obsolete. But on the other hand, I do think Kandrin has a lot of easy tasks. You can the hardest thing in Kandrin is killing 500 demonic gorillas. That's the hardest thing.
I was
I
gonna
thought
say
you were gonna
I was
say
gonna say Chompies and
Chomp-
Barbarian Assault for me.
Not just
No, I
Chompies.
think the hardest thing is 500 demonic gorillas or getting a dragon full helm. Those are the two hardest things. Other than that, you can definitely complete all the tasks in Kandrin. And if you look at the points of all the regions, Kandrin is the lowest points compared to all of them based on the total points in each region that you can choose. Kandrin has 8,840. So it is the lowest, but those are like the freest points you can get.
Yeah, and you know
But
that really goes to what I've felt there in Kandarin is that a lot of the points there are accessible early on, and if not that, you only need to do a few things, to be able to put them in reach.
so that's on one hand. It's like the points are easy, but on the other hand, I see is like what else is it giving me other than the points and a lot of skilling activities? It's not really giving me any gear. It's not giving me anything I can use in the long term. So that's what people are mostly looking at is like the end
Yeah.
game stuff and the gear stuff. So that's why Kandarin is low this league because they can get that gear elsewhere.
Yeah,
They
and
can do those
I think
skilling
that's a fair
activities
discussion
elsewhere.
for people,
So
who are going on the entire PVM angle with that. Sirion, you were mentioning you knew why Mauritania was on top. Would you care to enlighten
I
us on
think
that?
I think it's a follow up from the Kandarin point, right? Like, what does Kandarin provide in terms of gear and upgrades? Basically, piety. That's it. You can get another way now if you really want to. Mauritania gives you everything, right? I mean, first of all, Barrow's gear is super versatile, and combined with Last Stand and Darrock's, like, people are gonna have some really crazy fun in there. But I also think that it's the Slayer. It's the Slayer relic. It's the Slayer relic. That's really
agreed.
all there is to say about it.
Can you
Um,
explain what the Slayer Relic does?
so the Slayer relic basically makes it so that every monster that can be assigned as a Slayer task is treated as if on a Slayer task for you. So you get the experience for killing it, but it also counts as a monster on a Slayer task for the sake of the Black Mask or Slayer Helmet, which gives you a 16.66666666 percent increase in your attack and
No,
strength
keep
level.
going. 66666.
Like,
That is holy crap when you consider something like the max hits I've been seeing, and you apply that to something like the Calphite Queen, for example.
Exactly.
Now, yeah, now that is what you call in league synergy. If you pick Mauritania, the Slayer Relic, and get the Slayer Helm, that is synergy across the board. You're synergizing and you're getting the max out of that Slayer Relic.
And I think the fact that you can now get all of the ultra rares from Theater of Blood, like, that's, I think, why Desert has dropped quite
that helps.
significantly.
Yeah.
Like, you can get the oh my god, what's the ultra rare from Tombs again? Is it the Fang? No.
Twisted
No,
Bow?
it's a shadow.
It's Shadow. Oh my god. How did I blank on the Shadow, right? So you can get the Shadow, you can get the Twisted Bow, or you can get the Scythe. Like, you can get all
So,
three of them.
yeah, you can get them all, but in TOB, you have to be on hard mode. In TOA, you have to be over a certain threshold
Yeah. I
in
like
the
I
challenges.
I picked Desert for that reason, because it seemed like the easiest path towards an ultra rare.
Exactly.
Oh,
I did
interesting.
choose desert too because it does give good range gear, but
Oh,
with
must
the
great.
tiers with the tier 6 range mastery of me having 100% accuracy, it doesn't really matter
You
in
can
that
wear
case.
any armor you want.
Yeah, I've been seeing
Exactly.
tank ranged builds,
I
right? Where you wear just this Sherwood ranged.
I'm mainly wanting to go for the T-bow or the shadow in this case because um I never miss with range, but also I want to go like 3 mastery with magic with the shadow because then I can max out uh my mage accuracy with my armor
Mm.
with the shadow. So I can range with 100% accuracy, wear my magic gear to get max accuracy to try to get that. So that's pretty much my goal right now. Like I also took Zaya, so I'll do some Chambers of Xeric to get the max magic gear, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes.
I want to talk about the relics because, just like the regions seem a little bit imbalanced, the relics are kind of in that same ballpark too. And I'm just going to run over the first tier 4, the first 4 tiers here, and you guys can, give me a hot cold indicator on that. So for tier 1, 74% of people chose animal wrangler, 20% power miner, and 5.25% lumberjack. At tier 2, 69.75% chose dodgy deals, 25.69% the friendly forager, and 4.5% the corner cutter. And then at tier,
It's interesting because I think like I don't have major regrets about my relics,
no,
except for maybe the tier 2 one.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I might have gone for friendly forager there. I don't regret not getting dodgy deals. I think I had tricks the last time. I had that like it looked like a lot of fun, but it looked like similar fun as I had last time.
Yeah, it's a
Friendly
question of if you need
forager,
it though, because you have Varlamore.
exactly, and friendly forager would have solved me a lot of problems early on. And I'm trying to get sort of out of the herblord gap right now with overgrown, but yeah, it would have been nice for sure.
Here's the one that blows everyone out of the water. Tier 3,
No,
Clue
it doesn't.
Compass, 93%. Bank Heist, 4.5%. Fairies Flight, 2.1%. What? What?
I think Clue Compass isn't as good as people think.
No, you can do just well with Bank and
yes,
Fairy,
okay.
but
Francine made a really good point. Synergies, right? If you get the Treasure Master one and Clue Compass, it's so much fun, right? And it's a really good combination. But
Yes.
as a teleport relic by itself, it has a few really good spots. But like the Pyramid Plunder one, for example, it puts you in the lobby, so it's not actually that great. um, uh,
It is really good for Mauritania because there is a stash unit at the chest
yeah,
and barrows, and you can get the clue to get to the top of the barrows to the weird old man. So you can start the barrows trip with a clue and end the barrows trip with the stash unit and just go
yeah.
trip after trip after trip. Um, if we go back to the first tier of relics, I think there's no wrong choice with the first tier. I think as long as you think about your areas you're going to choose and what is going to synergize with your areas, that will be the best choice for you.
yeah, 100%
So,
agree on that.
so when I was trying to choose my first tier relic, I knew I was going to go with desert. So I knew I didn't need power miner in that case because I had Giant's Foundry. Giant's Foundry is going to make smithing really fast for me, and mining will be fast in Volcanic Mine. So in those scenarios, I'm like, look, I don't need Power Miner. Let's look at the other two. An Animal Wrangler is the top choice, mainly because a lot of people are going to go with Varlamore and do a lot of hunter rumors, and the Karamwan fishing spot never moves, so you have a lot of AFK time.
Right.
Um,
Right.
the weakest point of that relic for me is that you have a 50% chance of cooking the food. While Power Miner, you'll always smith and craft, and Lumberjack, you will always burn or fletch your logs. While Animal Wrangler, you have a 50% chance of cooking.
I have Animal Wrangler and have not found that to be a problem.
It is not,
Because my
but
cooking still went up to 99. Like, my cooking at
it
this
is really
point
fast.
is at level 103 if you enable virtual levels, while my fishing is only at 98. So I get why they did this.
Yeah,
Cooking is just way faster.
And I mean, it's
so.
just an easy way of getting food too. So that's kind of what I took it as.
I have
as well.
thousands of Karambrands in my bank. I will never need, and like 500 anglerfish, and that's without the raw
Yes.
food. I will never be short of food. Yeah.
Tier 4.
It is going to be fast getting 50 million cooking that way.
Yes.
But with Synergy, Animal Wrangler does work at Temporos, and Lumberjack does work at Wintertot. So
Yeah.
I honestly was going to go for Lumberjack at the start because I knew I was going to get Zaya. But then when Reloaded came out for Tier 4, I was like, look, I'm going to do more fishing in the start. So I think I want to do Animal Wrangler and then get Lumberjack with Reloaded. So that is what I did.
Nice.
So I took Animal Wrangler at the start and took Lumberjack with Reloaded.
And
Animal Wrangler at Temporos is just fun because you can one cycle it.
Oh yeah, I've killed Temporos in 1 minute and 29 seconds.
It's something
That's
along
the
those lines.
fastest kill.
Yeah, exactly.
For the Tier 4, 69%, 69.75% chose Golden God, 34.97% went for Reloaded, and 3.57% went for Equilibrium, with the Friendly Forager being at 63%.
We have to talk about the people who used Reloaded to get Bank Heist or Fairy Flight.
Or Clue Compass.
I mean, I can sort of understand why people might get Clue Compass from like a regret point of view, right?
I do think the people that chose Clue Compass were those people that accidentally got Bank Heist or Fairy's Flight, that had a lot of regrets. But the people that took Bank Heist and Fairy's Flight, I have no idea. I think they did it for the meme. I think they did it as a joke. I think they did it for a challenge. I don't know what their thought was exactly. They were not going for efficiency at that point. Maybe they just wanted more teleports.
I mean, to be honest, there's I have Clue Compass, and especially in Varlamore and Zaya, there is, from what I saw, actually, there's stash units missing from Varlamore. So I'm hoping I'm getting teleports for free in a few weeks.
They did miss some stash units for Clue Compass. There's a stash unit in Varrock Palace that is missed. The one that you stash, the black axe. That one's missed.
They don't do stash units if they're like right next to each other. So I think they made some selection, but I think there were some in Varlamore that were really missed. So we'll see. But like for me, it's really hard to get to certain places across those two continents. And I've looked, and like Barry's Flight would have solved basically all my transport needs.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
But they do put them kind of close together, because there is one in the Varrock clothes shop, and then there's one right next door in Gypsy Aris's tent.
Yeah, that I think those are the two closest teleports you can get with Clue Compass. Let me see. I have them open.
So
I do think if you take Kandrin, Fairy's Flight, Clue Compass, and Bank Heist are pretty much even. Because Kandrin has a ton of stash units, a ton of trees, a ton of fairy rings. Like, you cannot make a wrong teleportation choice if you take Kandrin.
I felt that Clue Compass really hasn't given me many teleport options for the desert.
No,
oh, yeah.
No,
the desert,
exactly.
The best one is the Shanty Pass.
Yeah. Shanty Pass or Agility Pyramid are the two I've been using.
Yeah.
No, but like in the new, like especially in like current and Valimor, you see a lot of banks everywhere. Like they're a lot more generous with banks and like bank chests, and I think Bank Heist would have actually gotten me a lot more utility, because also in the desert, like Clue Compass only really gives me how many like 3 or maybe 4 teleports,
Now,
and most of them have banks next to them. So or
yes.
banks in more convenient location. Like Shantae Pass has a bank. Agility Period, no, but I would have a bank in Nardar, which would actually be more convenient. Sophonem has a bank.
Now,
Temporis
the
has a
biggest thing
bank.
you're missing on the Clue Compass is the new toy that it provides. So if you're doing clues, it teleports you right to the spot. It
That
makes
should maybe.
clues 10 times faster. Plus, the best thing about it is that you can like get a clue that teleports you right to the DKs, and you never have to do that horrible route to the DKs ever again. Or it teleports you right to uh Fossil Island. So you don't need to make a ruby necklace or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
So you just need to search for that clue, and then you have that teleport, and if you drop the clue, you can still do other clues because it despawns in an hour. So you can still keep the clue and do other clues. So
the thing is, I'm not sure if they should have put that on Clue Compass, right? Because it is such a power. Like now, it makes it such an obvious choice that you should get Clue Compass rather than Fairy's Flight.
Yeah, I
If
was
they
just
had,
gonna say that's why I
I
said
think
93%.
at the moment they had would have removed that you can teleport to the current step, I think it would have made the choice here much, much more even.
yeah, if it wasn't teleported the current step, I would have taken Bank Heist.
Like same,
Yeah, that's
same.
fair. That's fair. There's also the question of what did people choose for their combat masteries, and this goes into what we have for the meta here overall for this leagues. 48.7% ranged, 38.4 magic, 38.4 melee, and 12.87 magic.
That's
So
less lopsided than I expected it to be. I thought it was like gonna be like range 65%.
I honestly feel like
Yeah,
it's the Varlamore weapons that are bringing melee up, plus all the other crazy
I
things
did
you can do
expect
with it max
range
hit
to be
wise.
higher. I did expect range to be higher because the range 6 mastery is that you have never miss. You
I've
have
seen
100% accuracy,
I've seen
and
people
you can
doing the
bring range to monsters that have defense and range, and now you can range them. So like I can bring range to the DKs and range all the DKs. I can bring range to Duke and range the Duke. I can
I've
bring
seen
range to bosses that I couldn't range before.
I've seen people doing the moons with range, and it just looks wrong, and I want them to stop.
That's funny. That's really funny. So I mean, when you combine the combat masteries, the relics, and the regions, I mean, how much of each? Like, what choices are informing what has emerged here as the meta? And I guess the question is, what is the meta in Raging Echoes? If either of you could
It
summarize
depends
that.
on, I think it depends on, for me, it's like what echo bosses do I think I can kill? Um, because it the echo bosses this league drops really good weapons. Like the KQ drops a really good uh range weapon. And so if you're going range, I definitely recommend going desert because that drops a really good
Yeah.
weapon. Um, if you're going melee, I definitely recommend going Mauritania because you can get some really good melee Barrow's gear and the Barrow's gloves. With the Dusk and Dawn, you can get even better.
Well, yeah,
Pharaoh's
I mean,
gloves
YouTube
with the
Shorts I've
Amulet of
seen
Damned in it.
also, hitting over 100 this week, so there you
Oh
go.
yeah.
Um,
Uh, Frominic this league is definitely a good, uh, friendly, uh, area to go with, no matter what master you go with, because it drops the best, uh, jewelry this league. It drops the best necklace and ring this league. So that's another reason why Kandarin is so low, because the Zenite jewelry is obsolete if you go Fremennik. Because if you get the DKs, Echo DKs, and you get their drop, you have 20 bonus and everything, I think it is.
yeah.
So I do recommend going Fremennik no matter what style, no matter what you go with. Frominic is just a good choice to do. If you
What
can
do you think,
decide, go
Sirion,
Frominic.
in terms of what the meta is?
I hate the word meta when
I
it
know.
comes to leagues, because I think it's not what people should focus on. I think people should really focus on, like what
Having
Francine
fun.
said. Yeah, exactly. Like what is actually within the realm of possibility? Like what are the bosses I can actually kill, and what do I need to do that?
Yeah, that's the main reason I didn't take Voldemort, because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to kill the Echo Boss. I before the Echo Bosses came out, I was wanting to take Voldemort, but then it came out and I'm like, well, I'm not taking Voldemort because that seems impossible and I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah, I don't think like I will do the Echo Boss. I mean, to be honest, I came into leagues thinking none of the Echo Bosses are gonna be achievable for me. I was wrong. I was actually wrong, mostly because of how powerful your character is, I think. But yeah, no, in terms of meta, what really paints itself out here is people who have gone for a certain meta, right? Like if you pick all of the top choices here, Animal Wrangler, Dodgy Deals, Clue Compass, Golden God, that's in most cases it it's very much the obvious option. The obviously like this is basically the set of choices that if you pick this at the start, it solves like at least 75% of all
It
skills
also
for
sets
you.
you off to a very quick power escalation.
Exactly. So that to me, like I feel I had intended to look at them and I forgot, but I feel that when we looked at the stats last year, they were much closer together, right? There were
Yeah,
still
like that's
there
my
were
sense
still
as well.
But like one of the interesting observations I had last year, and I think this was mentioned on one of the Jagex streams, is that and we get a snapshot of the stats, but we don't get how the stats progressed. So for example, last year I think people underestimated how good Trickster was. So initially everybody went for Production Prodigy. And then they started realizing, oh my goodness, like Trickster is actually really good. You can get like all of the pickpocketing, all of the agility, all of the hunter. So I'm pretty sure that if people made like second accounts or, went later into it, they might have chosen Trickster. So this time around, I feel people have very clear preconceived notions. Like I looked at Reddit quite a lot ahead of time with all the theory crafting, and the ones with the highest percentage here are the ones that I saw theory crafted the most. So I'm wondering if this is actually the representation of these are the best tiers you can like
Uh-huh.
relics you can
Yep.
pick, or if this is like because it's all untested, right? Like the theory doesn't always match practice
Right.
entirely, and I think especially Equilibrium, like I mean, I don't think it's very powerful, but I also think that if you add up all of the experience and all of the time saves,
It's not a bad thing. And my question is, if you take this in terms of, what are the most picked choices, how are these people doing Herblore?
they're probably taking Overgrown. Well, are they?
Or
Actually?
Pocket Kingdom?
I I do have my own opinions about the second tier and the fourth tier. Like, if you take dodgy deals, I pretty much hope you take Mauritania so you can steal from the buyers, or I hope you take Tuanwin to steal from the elves. Because
Oh
if
yeah.
you don't take those two areas, I don't see a reason to take dodgy deals. Like, yes, in the start when these came out, dodgy deals was my first choice. But then when desert tasks came out, I was thinking of doing dodgy deals because desert previously had a task that had like steal 150 of the golden chest, room 8 golden chest 150 times. I'm like, man, that would be so much easier if I got dodgy deals. But now the task is only 25 times. And I'm like, okay, if that's the only reason I was getting dodgy deals, I don't think there's a reason to do it anymore. So I'm like, okay, I'm fine with getting corner cutter because I don't really want to train agility anyway. And agility for me has been a hard skill to train in every league past.
Right.
And now with corner cutter and Sage's Greaves, this league and the last league, it has been a lot easier. Um, and then with tier 4 Golden God and the last league money one, which was what's that called
Fire
again?
sale.
Gold.
Fire sale. Both of those relics to me makes money pointless, and I want money to have a purpose. I want to strive to get money and everything like that. So I do like how it benefits prayer this time around and magic. So you can definitely get a high magic level and a high prayer level based on Golden God, but also you have all the money for construction and anything else your heart desires. But also, I'd rather earn my money and not say it's too easy. So it's just like I'd rather do it that other way. It's just my play method, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that, and a lot of people are just saying that. Well, I don't care about that. If I can, be dropping money and on the floor stacks of bills, that that's money. It's a problem solved, and it opens up the door
And yeah,
to so many
if
other
you do have
things.
Golden God, I hope you have max bank slots because that's a good way to get your max bank slots in leagues because that carries over in future leagues as well. Um, and you can easily get your Onyx in Molarek. You can easily uh, pay for your access to Brimhaven Dungeon because that's a task in Karamja. So you can easily put 7 mil in Fromenic uh, Kingdom. So there's a lot of benefits to Golden God. I know there are, but I'd rather earn the money and
Yeah.
say I worked for this.
Yeah, and I guess the big question is it's becoming clear here that I don't think there are any bad choices. Is having such an imbalance in all this good, or
I think what this should inform Jagex and what I would really like to see a little bit more in the future, like Equilibrium isn't interesting. Like
right?
it doesn't, like the whole point about leagues is to go a little bit crazy, right? Like everything just you do things that you normally couldn't.
Yeah,
Equilibrium
the whole
really
point of
doesn't
leagues.
allow you to do cool stuff. I think that's the reason people don't pick it.
Here's how you make
Um,
equilibrium interesting. Rather than it being 10% of your total level that gives you XP on whatever action you're doing, make it so that it's 1% of whatever XP drop you get gets put onto all skills.
No, but even then, it wouldn't be interesting. Like, it doesn't unlock interesting new strategies that normally you wouldn't do, right? Like, so
Yeah.
last year, because I had Trickster, I could actually grind out the crystal shards and the crystal seeds to train crafting and smithing to continuously crafting and breaking down crystal bows, right? That's not possible in the main game.
Right.
Things like Fire Seal and Golden God allow you to train construction by continuously building crystal thrones, which is absolutely bonkers, right? So these allow you to do things and make content relevant for new reasons that the main game doesn't. Equilibrium doesn't really do that. Even Corner Cutter doesn't really do that, right? Like the only thing it really does is it gives you agility XP over time.
So is your theory then that the reason these ones are lowest is because they're the least interesting and don't give you as much of power fantasy?
I do agree with that.
Yeah, and I think
do agree with that.
Yeah, I think Jagex should look less at like what's balance in terms of how much XP can you get out of it, and more like, because like balance, like that's also I think that's like, even though the three masteries, like combat masteries, are pretty balanced, like a lot of people are going for range because it allows them to use range in places they normally couldn't, right?
Yeah.
It opens up new gameplay things that can't be done in the main game, that can't be replicated in the main game. And that's the kind of thing they should lean into more, I think, when updating the relics for next year.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the best way to play leagues is pick the relics that you want to use in a way that it's a new toy to use. It's like, I want to pick this because it's a new toy and it will give me something to play with and it will be useful in the long run.
And that's why I took a 5-day break figuring out between Golden God and Reloaded.
5-day break?
Yeah.
XP waste.
I don't care. It's not going anywhere in the end, so I mean, 5 days gone, that's fine.
Can we talk about Banker's Note versus Total Recall?
No, because we don't have the stats on that yet. Unless you have a strong opinion on what people should know about it.
Well, I do agree that Banker's Note is the right choice because it is very versatile in pretty much everything. It is strong in skilling, but it also is strong in PVM. Like you can bring all your food and all your potions noted to a PVM fight while you're also sitting at teaks and noting your teaks or noting your adamant ore. Like it is strong wherever you go. As long as you can note your items, you're good. While in Total Recall, you can pretty much, there's a lot of niches with Total Recall. You got to figure out how to use it. There's like, you need an instruction manual in a way. Like I actually have seen someone use it at Lizardman Shamans where they don't bring an anti-poison. They just Total Recall back, cured, and then they keep fighting. Like they Total Recall to cure themselves and they keep going. I was like, oh my goodness, that's a good niche.
Yeah, and you know, I think when it comes to PVM and how everything's all lining up together, whether it be, you know, Banker's Note or Total Recall, and you start looking at the fact people are probably choosing based on the echoes you see, and this will be the last bit of stats before we quickly do our tips and tricks. You know, interestingly enough, Hunlith in the Gauntlet has been killed the most at 1.2 million times. Grotesque Guardian 751k, Dag King 635, KBD 291,000, Hespori 251, Soul Heredet 92.6k, Cerebus 95.6, and the poor thermonuclear Smoke Devil. I see why people call it Thermi now. Only 4,800 times.
It's a long name, isn't it?
So
yeah.
I mean, it's there.
Yeah, I feel bad for it. I feel a little bit bad for it, but
That's the way the
The
ball
way Soup put it
bounces.
in the video, it was funny. He was like, "Oh, there's one more."
Well, yeah, you need 93 Slayer for it, right? Maybe it'll go up in future weeks, though I'm not holding my breath. Tips and tricks. What do we got for this? Let's start with you, Francine. If you could say, to the folks listening, do this to make your league's experience better. What's one thing that you've been looking at this past week?
Um, well, if you finally get to your seventh relic choice, so you have from Pocket Kingdom, Grimoire, or Overgrown. It's really based on your region choices. So for me, I have Desert, Zaya, and Fremennik. And so I already have all the prayer or spell books. I already have Lunars, I already have Ancients, I already have Arceus. So I don't need Grimoire because eventually I'll go to Cox and get the prayers. So the only thing I'm missing is Piety, and I'm not going melee. So I don't need Grimoire. I'm good. I don't need Grimoire. Pocket Kingdom, I don't need either because I have Fremennik. I can get the resources. I don't need it doubled or anything. So from there, I was like, look, the best thing I can do is Overgrown because I didn't take Friendly Forager. Um, and I think this will help me with herb lore and farming. So I went with Overgrown. But the big thing with Overgrown is like people don't know how to use it. It needs an instruction manual, like I said before. So the big thing with that one is like it doesn't complete any achievement diaries for you, and it doesn't uh give you some resources. So you can't get tree roots from it. You can't get Zami grapes from it. And I've also found you can't get Nightshade from Belladonna from it. So those are the only things I need to farm myself in order to get those resources. So I've been farming magic tree roots for Antidote Plus Plus. I've been farming nightshades for uh poison, and I've been farming the Zami grapes for ranging potions. But other than that, there is a way to do farming contracts with it. I think it's not really what the moderators have planned, but it does help. So, like, if you have a potato cactus planted in the desert and a regular cactus planted in the farming guild, and you have a potato cactus contract, as long as you have a seed in the vault and it replants the potato cactus, the contract will complete. And you can say, "Hey, I completed my contract." It works. I've seen it. So it works with
yeah,
any
the
plant.
the overgrown contract stuff is like I haven't figured out because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? Like if it completes while you are logging in, it doesn't complete the contract, but if you like at any other point it does. I I I
Yeah,
haven't figured it out.
it's very iffy. I think it's like when for me, whenever like six plants at the same time has harvested and replanted and your contract was in within those six plants, it doesn't complete. It has to be like the last one to replant or something. I don't know. It's very iffy. So you really just got to be careful with that. If anything, you can always take that seed out of the vault
Yeah, that's what I've
and
been
replant it
doing.
yourself and do it the old-fashioned way, making sure it's planted in the farming guild. Um, but if you want to cheat, try to make that work.
All right, and that makes sense with you being the farming person here. So that's fair enough. How about you, Sirion?
I think if I had to give everybody one tip is do tasks. If you can do a task quickly, then do it. Don't look at a task being oh, but it's only like 10, it's only 30 points. If I grind a little bit longer, I can like the thing is those 30 points, those 80 points, they start stacking up real quickly if you just start working on them. Like doing 3 medium tasks is more point than 1 hard task, right? Doing 3 medium tasks is more points than 7. No, 7 medium tasks is more point than 1 elite task. So, and in most cases, you can complete those 3 or 7 medium tasks respectively much quicker than the hard and elite tasks. So, it like don't stare yourselves too blindly on like the high points task. If
Yeah.
there's a task you can do right now, just do it. Like if it's on your way, there's really no reason to just not take it off quickly.
Yeah, and you know, to that point, what I did last night is I went through my list and I'm like, okay, out of everything here that's outstanding, which of these tasks can be done without, 15 to 20 minutes of work? And then that's going to be what I'm doing.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
like at some point you can maybe like take up like 50 tasks like that in, I mean, like 2 hours maybe.
And that's exactly what happened last night after my quests.
So also, if you have WikiSync and you look at the wiki task list, you can see what other people have done and you haven't, and you can order it by that. But there's also things like, okay, I have the lumberjack relic and a lot of people don't. So the task to chop 500 redwood logs was not completed by a lot of people, but I could do it easily. So those kind of tasks is like you got to look for specifically,
Yeah, that's how I'm going to be with
because those are
mining.
the tasks that are not on the top of the list.
Yeah, that's fair. My biggest tip: don't take 5 days to pick your relic. Yeah, seriously. What wound up happening with that is that I was agonizing back and forth between Golden God and Reloaded with the Friendly Forager, and I wound up going Reloaded with the Friendly Forager. And the reason for that, to make a long story short, is that what I realized is that my tier 2 was initially dodgy deals, and that's because I specifically had issues in the past in the main game with early thieving, and I really enjoyed Trickster last year. So I went with that, and in reality, I probably should have just gone with Forager and a region that enabled a bit more early thieving. So I guess the short way to put this is that rather than taking 5 days like I did to make a decision like that, either pre-plan it out and just go for it and just do whatever feels right, and whichever is going to be the most absurd thing, like Sirion mentioned in this case, would have been Golden God. You could do that, or you can meticulously think it out and say, well, is this going to help me with herblores, or is this going to make it easier to do other skills like prayer and construction in the case of Golden God? And I'm going to be okay with both of those. It's not going to be having huge copious amounts of XP and prayer construction and magic like the golden like the Golden God people have, but I think I'll be okay be okay in the end. And the true tip at the end of this is just pick what feels right to you, even if you go back and forth.
I think they're really not really wrong choices.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I think
are there some combinations that might, in some circumstances, completely screw you over? Yeah, if you pick the 3 regions without a herb patch, But other than that, I think, even then, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think another good tip is that you can unlock 2 areas with 140 tasks done, and I easily got that with only Mistla and Karamja. So I do recommend getting the 140 tasks done within Mistla and Karamja, and then you can unlock 2 areas at once. Because then if you unlock one area and get bottlenecked with the wrong choice, then you can at least unlock 2 areas and not be like that.
Yeah, there's lots of good stuff you can do in Mistlin and Karamja, early on, and
Because they did put a lot of easy tasks in Mistla and Karamja, so you're not bottlenecked from the start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you look in Karamja tasks, you can easily get a pirate hook and get 400 points for a master task. You can pay the guy at Brimhaven Dungeon a mill and get 200 points. Those are the easiest Karamja tasks you can do for 600 points. So I do recommend doing that if you are needing points.
Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of our prepared remarks here this week. Francine, do you have any dings for us this time, like last time?
Just have fun, make smart choices.
I said dings.
Have a good day.
Lots of dings. Remember the show title?
Oh. Ding, ding, ding.
There we go. Wouldn't be a complete show with you on it if that didn't happen. Sirion, anything else before we go?
No, all good from my side.
Good. Thank you for telling me there is no wrong choices. I will extend that out to Leagues in Life, and you will be responsible for everything.
I've told you that multiple times.
Luckily enough, with the choice of Reloaded as a relic, there is no wrong choices because you can always go back.
Yeah. But folks, let us know what you picked. Did we nail it in terms of saying that it appears to be a ranged meta this time and everything is lopsided, and at the end of it, that's okay in certain aspects, and when seeking power, that's what League should be about. Let us know if you agree with both of those in the comments on YouTube at youtube.com/@OSRSupdate, or in our Discord as well at update.show/Discord. But nonetheless, thank you, Francine, again for being on the show.
No problem.
And,
thanks for having me.
Of course. And Sirion and I will be back next week for another episode of the Old School RuneScape Update. See you then, everyone. Take care.